In today's video, I'm going to be answering a question I get asked a lot on social media. How do I create more spin when I'm round the green to stop that ball quicker, hit that, check, check, stop? Today, I'm going to be answering that question, so stay tuned for more info. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. Today's video, as I mentioned in the intro there, is all about creating more spin on our approach shots. So what I've got here is around a 40-yard shot to the flag. I've actually got a bit of green to work with, so I'm not sure I would choose to actually throw the ball in and get the ball to stop when you could quite easily get that ball to run on. But the purpose of today's video was to create more backspin. So I want to try and break down a couple of myths that get bandied around all the time. And of course, everybody's interested in that one that goes in low, that checks up on that second bounce. And the reality is the lower one and the higher one you hit might well have the same spin on. It's just how long it takes the spin to be applied. So without getting too geeky or scientific here, a big thing that creates spin, or one of the main reasons, is what we call spin loft. And that is just the difference between the angle of attack, so that's whether I'm hitting a couple of degrees down level or a couple of degrees up on the ball, and the dynamic loft of the golf club. So I'm going to be using here my highest lofted club, because my highest lofted club is going to help me create the most amount of spin. So that's 58 degrees. So if I manage to not de-loft that, and most people are de-lofting it, okay, but let's say I manage to return with 58 degrees aloft and I hit 0 down on it. So I'm neither hitting up or down. It's a nice shallow, just scrape of the turf there. My 0 angle of attack is the red line, my 58 degrees is the green line, and the bigger the difference between them, the more spin I create. So that would give me a spin loft of 58 degrees. The only way we can spin it more, really, but with this part, is increase the gap between it. So hit down on the ball more, but maintain loft, or increase the loft on the golf club. Now we could do that by, I could add in, instead of 58 degree, 60, 64 degrees. So having a more lofted wedge will allow you to generate spin. Other things, the other main factors, without going too much into good golf ball, clean grooves, which are all pretty obvious things, firmer turf, speed. Speed is the other thing that creates spin. So if we were talking about just a basic bump and run, chip and run type of shot, you'll never create a load. You will create backspin, but you'll never create a load of backspin there because it's a smaller action, there's less speed. On a shot where we've got this sort of 40 yards, I can now start to create a little bit more zip through impact, a little bit more speed to help create the spin. So whether I'm hitting this higher one that's flying, I don't know, 37 of these 40 yards and stopping within those last sort of 9 feet, 3 yards, or whether I'm hitting the lower one that's actually going to land out there at about maybe first bounce at 25, 30 yards, check, check, and then just release out to the flag, they're actually going to have similar spins on. The difference is really going to be the trajectory and how long it takes the spin to be applied. So if you hit the ball lower, there's less of a pitch mark, less absorption from the ground. The ball has more forward momentum before the spin is applied. If you hit the ball higher and the ball creates a little bit of a dent in the green, a little bit of a pitch mark, then more of the energy is absorbed by the green. There's less forward movement there. So it looks like the lower one has got more spin. Often they're similar. It's just depending on how long that it takes the spin to be applied. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, because I do get golfers fascinated by hitting this low one. So I'm going to talk you through the two there really. So the first ball I'm going to try and fly with more height and spin. The second one I'm going to be trying to hit in lower, so it's more of a grab up and then release, so it's hopefully going to be checking up more on the second bounce. So a pitch shot here, I'm going to be playing the ball for a standard pitch shot, quite central in my stance. I'm going to be playing it relatively underneath my sternum, and I want my handle more level with the golf club, not de-lofting it, because I want to create the biggest spin loft I can, the difference between my angle of attack and dynamic loft. I don't want to de-loft the golf club. Now what I can do is, on 40 yards, I can make around a sort of hip height, pocket height type of swing with quite a good rotation here to generate that speed and spin. So let me give that a go. Ball very central under my sternum, handle more level. It's around a hip height swing with a lot of acceleration. It's going to land a little short of where I wanted, but it had a nice high flight and that ball stopped very quickly. So bounce, bounce, stop. Okay, so there wasn't really that check, check, release, but I had more height to it. Hardly a divot, just a scraping of the turf there, which shows my angle of attack wasn't too much on the way down. So it was a nice shallow angle of attack, and I hopefully still had a lot of dynamic loft. When I measure it on my launch monitor, I'm normally delofting my 58 degree down to about 55, 54. I can hit it without delofting anything. Most amateurs, when I'm teaching them initially, we check it and they're likely to be delofting it by about 10 degrees. They're generally getting more shaft lean and really delofting it. Now, if we were trying to hit the fancy one in here, the one that's going to go a little bit lower, check, check, and then just release out there, so biting almost on that second bounce. All I'm really going to do is play the ball a little bit further back in my stance, so I'm hitting slightly more downward on it. It does rely on me striking that ball first, but I'm going to get that lower flight. There's less of a pitch mark. There's that forward skip before the spin is applied, but the same principles apply. I'm delofting the golf club, but hitting down on it more. So it might well be that the spin, I hit down on it by 5 and I've delofted it by 5. The spin loft is the same as the first one I hit. It's just a lower trajectory and it bites a little bit more on that second bounce. So ball nearer my back foot, pressure a little bit more forwards, hands can be a little bit more forward, so I'm delofting it. And that means I'm also hitting down on the ball more. And that gets, oh, that really did. It was one bounce, jump forward, second bounce, just hung up there, really stopped. Were times if we went into a lower lofted club or a little slightly shorter distance, depending on the green as well, that ball may just then release once it's checked up that little bit. So it may just be a bounce, bounce, check, and then just release to the flag. That one stopped pretty quickly. We are landing, I guess, into a little upslope. I would have thought those spin rates were quite similar, but it looked like the second one had more spin. I landed the ball similar distances with a similar wedge. The reality was I hit more down on the second one, more level on the first one, but the difference between the angle of attack and the dynamic loft might well have been the same. So I know that throws out a lot of theories amateurs have where hitting down it's definitely going to create more spin. It's not that. It's really clean grooves, decent golf balls, a decent turf condition to hit off. It's spin loft, the difference between the angle of attack and the dynamic loft, and speed. All those things are a factor to how much spin we can create. But if you are always coming up short of the green, should we be creating more backspin, or should you really from here be playing that lower one that rolls a little bit more? Maybe a bit of food for thought for you. If that video has helped, make sure you hit the thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel for all the other content. Cheers, guys.